The Last Stand of Aurora. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of Sanctuary Station, watching the massive form of the supercarrier Aurora take shape in the construction docks. Even half complete, its crystalline hull and sleek lines made it unlike anything humanity had ever built. It had to be. After 90 years of fighting the Kraxan Empire, this was humanity's last real chance. Beautiful, isn't she? The gravelly voice of Dr. Marcus Webb joined her at the viewport. The head of Project Aurora looked exhausted, but his eyes sparkled with pride as he gazed at his creation. She better be more than beautiful, Marcus. Sarah didn't take her eyes off the ship. The Kraxan have pushed us back to our last major colony. We've lost Earth. We've lost everything except Haven. This has to work. Marcus nodded grimly. The quantum crystalline matrix is stable. The test runs exceeded our wildest expectations. The Kraxan's gravitic weapons won't be able to touch her. A distant flash caught Sarah's attention. Her heart sank as the station's alarms began to wail. Contact. A voice shouted over the station's comm. Multiple Kraxan warships dropping out of hyperspace. They're early. Marcus's face went pale. Aurora isn't ready. We need another week at least. Sarah was already moving. We don't have a week. Sound general quarters. Begin emergency evacuation procedures. All essential personnel to their posts. She turned to Marcus. Can she fly? The main systems are online, but the secondary systems aren't fully integrated. The weapons. Can she fly? Sarah cut him off. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. Yes. But she'll be vulnerable. Not as vulnerable as we'll be if the Kraxan take this station. Get your team aboard. I'll coordinate the evacuation. The next hours were chaos. The Kraxan fleet, led by their dreaded Worldbreaker-class dreadnoughts, methodically worked to surround Haven. The orbital defense grid bought time, but Sarah knew it wouldn't be enough. She coordinated from the station's command center, directing civilian ships to emergency hyperspace vectors, while Haven's defensive fleet engaged the Kraxan. Admiral, one of her officers called out. Kraxan vessels are launching boarding pods at the station. Sarah grimaced. The Kraxan were infamous for their boarding actions, their cybernetically enhanced warriors nearly unstoppable in close quarters. Status of the Aurora. Main power online. Life support stable. Dr. Webb reports they're ready for emergency launch. Begin final evacuation of the station. All remaining personnel to Aurora. Initiate station scuttle procedures. She switched to a general channel. This is Admiral Chen. The Kraxan are here for Aurora. We cannot let them take her. All hands, prepare for emergency departure. The race to Aurora's docking bay was a nightmare of flashing emergency lights and the distant sounds of combat as station security engaged the first Kraxan boarding parties. Sarah's security detail fought off 2 attempts by Kraxan warriors to reach them, the enhanced aliens shrugging off multiple hits before finally falling. They reached Aurora's bridge as the station's hull began to buckle under concentrated Kraxan fire. Sarah took her place in the command chair, surrounded by a crew that looked far too young for what they were about to attempt. All stations, report. Engineering online, running at 82% capacity. Navigation ready, emergence vectors plotted. Weapons minimal, only forward batteries responding. Hull integrity at 90%, quantum matrix stable. Sarah took a deep breath. Brake docking clamps, all ahead full. Aurora's crystalline hull hummed as its revolutionary quantum drives engage. The massive ship pulled free of the dying station's embrace, immediately coming under fire from the Kraxan fleet. But just as Marcus had promised, the gravitic beams that had spelled doom for so many human ships simply washed over Aurora's hull. My God, someone whispered. It actually works. Don't celebrate yet, Sarah warned. We still have to get past those dreadnoughts. Navigation, plot us a course through their line. Engineering, give me everything you can. Weapons, target anything in our path. Aurora accelerated, her crystalline hull gleaming as she charged the Kraxan blockade. The massive alien ships tried to adjust, but they'd been positioned to deal with normal human vessels, not something that could ignore their primary weapons. Aurora's few working guns blazed, quantum-enhanced beams punching through Kraxan shields with unprecedented ease. They broke through the line, leaving chaos in their wake. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The Kraxan wouldn't stop until they captured or destroyed humanity's last hope. And Aurora, magnificent as she was, wasn't ready for a prolonged fight. "Plot a course to the outer rim," she ordered. "We'll gather what survivors we can and begin testing Aurora's full capabilities. Then we'll show the Kraxan that humanity isn't finished yet. We're just getting started." As Haven receded behind them, Sarah watched her crew work with growing pride. They were young, scared, and far from home, but they were humanity's best hope. And with Aurora, they finally had a chance to turn the tide. The quantum crystal heart of the ship pulsed beneath their feet, its power still largely untapped. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Kraxan Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years through the absolute superiority of their technology. They were about to learn that humanity had just changed the rules of the game. Breaking chains. 3 months after Haven's fall, Aurora hung in the shadows of a massive debris field, her crystalline hull dimmed to near invisibility. Inside, Admiral Chen studied the tactical display showing their target. The Kraxan supply base Nexus 7, one of the main staging points for the Empire's continued expansion into human space. Latest intel from our stealth drones, Commander Jack Torres reported, his dark eyes fixed on the data streams. They've doubled their defensive grid since last week. 4 heavy cruisers, multiple destroyer squadrons, and at least 1 dreadnought in reserve. They know we're coming, Lieutenant Maya Patil added from her weapons station. In the months since their escape, Aurora had struck several smaller Kraxan outposts, testing their capabilities and gathering intelligence. But they still don't understand how we're doing it. Sarah nodded, considering their options. Aurora's systems were now fully integrated, her crew trained and battle-tested. But this would be their first major offensive against a hardened Kraxan target. Everything before had been rehearsal. Dr. Webb, status of the quantum matrix. Marcus looked up from his engineering console, where he'd been fine-tuning their revolutionary drive systems, operating at peak efficiency. The crystals have actually been growing stronger with each engagement, adapting to the Kraxan's attack patterns. We're seeing capabilities we didn't even theorize during development. That had been the most surprising discovery since their escape. The quantum crystalline technology that made Aurora unique wasn't just a static defense system. It was evolving, learning, becoming more efficient with each encounter. Some of the crew had started calling it the living ship. Very well. Sarah straightened in her command chair. This ends today. The Kraxan have had 10,000 years to perfect their empire of fear. Time to show them what humanity can do in just 3 months. Battle stations. Alarms sounded throughout the massive ship as the crew moved to their positions. Aurora's hull began to pulse with contained energy, the quantum crystals responding to their collective purpose. Launch stealth drones, Sarah ordered. Full sensor coverage. I want to know the moment that dreadnought moves. Engineering. Prepare for maximum power to forward shields and weapons. Navigation. Plot us a course straight through their defensive line. Admiral. Torres warned, if we go straight in, we'll be fighting their entire fleet at once. Exactly. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. They've spent 3 months trying to adapt to our quantum technology. Let's see what surprises they've prepared. Aurora burst from the debris field at full acceleration, her crystalline hull blazing with contained energy. The Kraxan response was immediate and devastating, or would have been, against any other ship. Gravitic beams, plasma torpedoes, and quantum disruption waves slammed into Aurora's defenses. But the quantum matrix didn't just resist their attacks. It absorbed them, grew stronger from them. Each impact made the crystalline hull pulse brighter, the ship's power readings climbing steadily. They've modified their weapons. Marcus called out excitedly. They're trying to match our quantum frequency. but the Matrix is adapting faster than their targeting computers can compensate. Multiple destroyer squadrons moving to surround us, Torres reported. Let them come, Sarah commanded. Weapons, target the nearest cruiser. Show them what we've learned. Aurora's main guns fired, quantum-enhanced beams lancing out with impossible precision. The Kraxan cruiser's shields, designed to resist conventional weapons, might as well have been tissue paper. The massive ship split apart in a cascade of secondary explosions. But the Kraxan weren't the galaxy's dominant power for nothing. Their ships began firing in synchronized patterns, trying to overwhelm Aurora's defenses through sheer coordination. The quantum matrix hummed with the strain of absorbing so much energy. They're learning, Marcus warned. Crystal lattice showing signs of stress in sections 12 through 15. Admiral, Maya's voice was urgent. The dreadnought is moving. Energy readings off the scale. The massive Kraxan flagship emerged from behind the station, its mile-long form bristling with weapons. But something was different about this one. Its hull gleamed with an almost crystalline sheen. They've been studying us, Sarah realized. That ship has been modified with their attempt at quantum technology. She keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is what we've trained for. The Kraxan think they can beat us at our own game. Let's prove them wrong. The dreadnought fired, a beam of corrupted quantum energy that made Aurora's sensors scream in protest. The impact sent tremors through the Supercarrier's hull. Crystal lattice holding, Marcus reported, though his voice was tense. But their quantum signature it's wrong. Distorted. They don't understand the underlying principles. They're brute forcing it. Can we use that? Sarah demanded. Marcus's fingers flew over his console. Yes. Their quantum field is unstable. If we can match their frequency and then shift ours. Do it, Sarah ordered. Helm, take us straight at that dreadnought. Weapons, prepare to fire on my mark. Full power to the main gun. Aurora charged through the chaos of battle, shrugging off attacks from the smaller ships as she headed straight for the massive dreadnought. The two quantum-powered vessels, one born of human innovation and one of Kraxan imitation, prepared to clash. Ready, Marcus called. Crystal lattice synchronized with their frequency. Fire. Aurora's main gun fired, a beam of pure quantum energy unlike anything they'd used before. It struck the dreadnought's modified hull, and instead of being absorbed or deflected, it resonated. The Kraxan ship's hasty quantum modifications began to tear themselves apart, the massive vessel shuddering as its own power turned against it. All ships, clear the blast radius, Sarah ordered, watching as the dreadnought's reactor went critical. The explosion lit up space like a newborn sun. When the light faded, Nexus 7's defenses were in chaos. More than half the Kraxan fleet had been destroyed or crippled. The rest were retreating, their confidence in their technological superiority shaken for the first time in millennia. Begin landing operations, Sarah ordered. Download everything from their databases. I want to know where they got the quantum technology and what else they're working on. As Aurora's Marines secured the station, Sarah allowed herself to truly believe, for the first time, that they might win this war. The Kraxan Empire had ruled through fear and technological dominance for 10,000 years, but they had never faced anything like Aurora, or the humans who crewed her. The real war was just beginning. The heart of the Empire. Deep in Kraxan space, Aurora drifted between the binary stars of the Helios system, her crystalline hull refracting the dual sunlight into mesmerizing patterns. The Supercarrier's stealth systems were pushed to their limits. They were less than 10 light-years from Corax Prime, the heart of the empire that had dominated galactic civilization for 10 millennia. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with growing concern. The data they'd extracted from Nexus 7 had led them here, but what they'd discovered was far worse than anyone had imagined. Show me the scan results again, she ordered. Dr. Webb brought up the sensor readings they'd been gathering for the past week. The space around Corax Prime was literally warped, the fabric of reality twisted by thousands of years of Kraxan technological development. They're not just using quantum mechanics, Marcus explained, his voice tight with professional horror. They're manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe on a scale we barely comprehend. Every planet in their core systems has been transformed into a power generator for their empire. And the populations? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Enslaved. Their bodies and minds linked directly to the planetary matrices. Billions of beings, turned into living batteries. Marcus looked sick. This is how they've maintained their power for so long. They don't just conquer worlds, they consume them. Lieutenant Petal spoke up from her station. Admiral, new contact. Light freighter, bearing Mark 7. Its drive signature matches known resistance vessels. This was what they'd been waiting for. After the battle at Nexus 7, Aurora had made contact with various resistance groups within the Empire. Most were small, desperate operations, but they painted a picture of widespread discontent under Kraxan rule. Open a secure channel, Sarah ordered. Let's hope our friends have good news. The face that appeared on the command screen wasn't what anyone expected. The being was clearly of the Visari species, one of the first races conquered by the Kraxan, but its crystalline skin and luminous eyes spoke of extensive genetic modification. Aurora Actual, the being said, its voice carrying harmonic undertones. I am Nexus Guide Zara. My people have waited long for this moment. Sarah leaned forward. You're rather well informed about us. We have been watching since your ship first revealed itself. Your quantum crystalline technology. It echoes the ancient songs of my people. Before the Kraxan came, we were on the verge of similar discoveries. Marcus stepped closer to the screen. The quantum matrices, they're based on Visari technology. In part, though you have taken the principles in fascinating new directions. Zara's expression shifted to something like hope. But we don't have time for scientific discussion. The Kraxan are preparing something. Something that threatens not just their subject worlds, but the very fabric of space-time. New data streamed across Aurora's sensors. Sarah's blood ran cold as she processed what she was seeing. The Kraxan weren't just building more ships with copied quantum technology. They were attempting to quantum-enhance entire star systems. If they succeed, Zora continued, they will achieve total dominion over reality itself. Every world, every species, every atom in the galaxy will be subject to their direct control. How long do we have? The primary stellar matrix will be complete within 30 days. After that, Zora's voice trailed off. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing. Aurora was powerful, but even their quantum technology couldn't stand against an entire transformed star system. They needed something more. You said our technology echoes your people's ancient songs, she said slowly. How many Visari are still connected to the planetary matrices? Zara's eyes widened as she grasped Sarah's implication. Millions, but we are bound by Kraxan control systems. But not for much longer, Marcus interrupted, excitement building in his voice. Admiral, Aurora's quantum matrix doesn't just defend against energy weapons. It can resonate with other quantum fields. If we could match the frequency of the Visari consciousness, we could wake them up, Sarah finished. All of them, simultaneously. But we'd have to get close to Corax Prime itself, right into the heart of their defense grid. Not just close, Zara cautioned. You would need to interface directly with the primary control nexus. It would be suicide. Sarah smiled grimly. The Kraxan have been calling it that since we first escaped Haven, but they still haven't managed to stop us. She turned to her crew. Plot a course to these coordinates, and begin analyzing the Visari data. I want options for breaking their control systems. As Aurora prepared for her most dangerous mission yet, Sarah watched her crew work with fierce pride. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, not just fighting an empire, but freeing an entire enslaved species with the power of their minds. The Kraxan had built their empire on stolen power and enslaved minds, but they'd never faced the combined will of humanity's determination and Visari quantum consciousness. In 30 days, they would learn what true power meant, assuming, of course, that they all survived the attempt. "Send word to all resistance cells," she ordered. "Tell them to be ready. In 1 month, the galaxy changes forever." Aurora's quantum heart pulsed with renewed purpose as they set course for Corax Prime. The crystals seemed to sing with an ancient harmony, as if recognizing their connection to the Visari technology that had inspired them. The true test of humanity's innovation was about to begin. And this time, they wouldn't be fighting alone. Liberation's dawn. The void around Corax Prime erupted in chaos as Aurora led the largest fleet action in galactic history. Hundreds of resistance ships emerged from hyperspace simultaneously, their crews representing dozens of species who had suffered under Kraxan rule. At their head, the human supercarrier's crystalline hull blazed like a newborn star. Multiple Kraxan defense platforms activating. Commander Torres reported from Tactical. "They're bringing the stellar matrix online ahead of schedule." Admiral Chen watched as space itself began to distort around the Kraxan homeworld. The enemy had anticipated their attack, but they didn't know everything. Status of the Visari consciousness link. She asked Dr. Webb. Marcus worked furiously at his console, where Aurora's quantum matrix was synchronized with the complex harmonics of Visari mental energy. Connection holding stable. Zara confirms their people are ready, but we'll need to get closer to the primary control nexus. "They're not making that easy," Lieutenant Patil observed as another wave of Kraxan warships emerged from the planetary defense grid. The enemy vessels were all equipped with copied quantum technology now, their hulls gleaming with artificial crystalline structures. Sarah opened a channel to the resistance fleet. "All ships, execute Operation Firebreak. Squadrons Alpha through Delta, engage those defense platforms. Everyone else, concentrate fire on their quantum-enhanced vessels. Don't let them establish a resonance pattern." The space around Corax Prime became a deadly dance of energy weapons and quantum fields. The resistance ships, though individually outgunned, used tactics developed by Aurora's crew to exploit the weaknesses in the Kraxan's copied technology. Where the Empire relied on brute force and overwhelming power, the rebels employed precision and coordination. "Enemy dreadnought squadron approaching," Torres warned. "They're trying to box us in." Sarah studied the tactical display, noting how the Kraxan ships moved with machine-like precision. "They still think this is about raw power. Show them what real quantum harmonics can do. Execute Pattern Omega." Aurora's crystalline hull pulsed with energy as she accelerated directly toward the Kraxan formation. The enemy ships opened fire, their quantum-enhanced weapons capable of threatening even the supercarrier's advanced defenses. But as the beams struck Aurora's hull, something extraordinary happened. "Quantum resonance established," Marcus announced triumphantly. "The matrix is absorbing their energy and redirecting it through the Visari harmonic patterns." The energy from the Kraxan weapons didn't just dissipate. It transformed, becoming part of the complex quantum web they'd created. Each attack made their connection to the imprisoned Visari stronger. "We're within range of the primary control nexus," Patil reported. "But those planetary defense stations, leave those to me." A new voice cut in. Zara's freighter, previously hidden in Aurora's sensor shadow, suddenly accelerated toward the massive defense platforms. "My people have maintained these stations for 10,000 years. We know their weaknesses." Sarah watched in amazement as the small ship executed a series of precise strikes, targeting seemingly random points on the massive structures. Cascade failures rippled through the Kraxan defense grid. "Now, Admiral," Zara called, "before they can reroute power. All ships, clear us a path to the control nexus," Sarah ordered. "Dr. Webb, begin the quantum pulse sequence. Lieutenant Patil, deploy resonance buoys." Aurora surged forward, her weapons blazing. The resistance fleet moved with her, creating a corridor through the chaos of battle. Special devices launched from the Supercarrier's bays, creating a network of quantum resonance points that amplified their connection to the Visari consciousness. They were nearly in position when the space around Corax Prime suddenly twisted violently. Emergency alarms blared throughout Aurora's bridge. "They're activating the stellar matrix early," Marcus shouted. "The system's quantum field is becoming unstable." Sarah gripped her command chair as reality itself seemed to buckle. "How long until full activation?" "Minutes at most." "But Admiral," Marcus's voice was grim, "if they complete the activation with the field in this state, it won't just give them control. It'll tear the system apart. They'll kill everyone, even themselves, to stop us." Sarah opened a channel to all ships. "This is Admiral Chen. The Kraxan are willing to destroy their own homeworld to maintain control. But we didn't come this far to fail now. All ships, form up on Aurora. Divert all power to your quantum shields. We do this together, or not at all." The Resistance fleet closed ranks around the Supercarrier as they made their final approach to the control nexus. Kraxan ships pressed their attack with suicidal determination, but they couldn't break through the combined quantum fields of the Allied vessels. "Control nexus in range," Paddle reported. "Quantum link at maximum power." "Zara," Sarah called, "are your people ready?" "We have waited 10,000 years for this moment," the Visari leader replied. "Do it. Set us free." Sarah took a deep breath. "Dr. Webb, initiate the quantum pulse. Full power. Lieutenant Patel, target the control nexus. All ships, stand by to reinforce our quantum field." Aurora's crystalline hull blazed with unprecedented energy as they launched their attack. The quantum pulse struck the control nexus just as the stellar matrix reached critical levels. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, throughout the Kraxan Empire, billions of enslaved minds awakened simultaneously. The Visari consciousness, enhanced by Aurora's quantum technology, surged through the very networks that had imprisoned them. Their combined will, focused through the quantum resonance network, became an unstoppable force. The stellar matrix's energy, instead of being corrupted by Kraxan control, was transformed by the Visari awakening. Where the Empire would have forced obedience, the ancient species chose harmony. Sarah watched in awe as the quantum fields around Corax Prime shifted from chaotic destruction to ordered brilliance. The Visari weren't just freeing themselves, they were stabilizing the very fabric of space-time that the Kraxan had tried to corrupt. Multiple Kraxan vessels powering down, Torres reported with disbelief. "Their quantum systems they're being rewritten from within." "The Visari engineering crews," Zora explained, her voice filled with pride. "For millennia, we maintained their technology. Now we remind them who truly understands its power." As the battle turned decisively in their favor, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They had done more than win a military victory. They had freed an ancient species and prevented the destruction of an entire star system. But she knew this wasn't the end. The Kraxan leadership was still out there, hidden in their most secure bunkers. And they would never accept this defeat easily. "Secure the orbital facilities," she ordered. "Prepare for ground operations. The Kraxan Empire ends today, one way or another." A new era. Deep beneath the crystalline spires of Corax Prime's capital city, Admiral Sarah Chen led a combined force of human marines and freed Visari warriors through ancient corridors that hummed with quantum energy. Aurora hung in orbit above, her sensors penetrating the planetary defenses that had hidden the Kraxan leadership's ultimate refuge for millennia. "The quantum signatures are getting stronger," Dr. Webb reported through their enhanced comlink. "Whatever's down there, it's more powerful than anything we've encountered." Sarah signaled the strike team to halt as they approached a massive door covered in pulsing quantum circuits. Beside her, Zora's crystalline form resonated with the ambient energy. "This is it," the Visari leader said softly. "The origin chamber. The heart of their power, where the first Kraxan lords began their empire's expansion 10,000 years ago." Life signs, Sarah asked, checking her quantum-enhanced battle armor. Dozens, Marcus replied from Aurora. But the readings are strange. They're not quite Craxon, not anymore. The door began to open before they could breach it. Beyond lay a vast circular chamber filled with swirling quantum energy. And at its center, suspended in fields of pure power, were the Craxon High Lords, or what remained of them. Their bodies had been transformed by millennia of quantum manipulation, becoming creatures of living energy more than physical matter. They hung like malevolent stars, their consciousness spread across multiple dimensions. So, a voice echoed through both space and mind. The primitives have finally found their way to our sanctum. Sarah stepped forward, her quantum armor resonating with Aurora's systems above. Your empire is finished. Your fleet is defeated. Your slave races are free. Surrender now. Laughter rippled through the quantum field, distorting reality around them. You understand nothing. We are not mere rulers. We are evolution itself. For 10,000 years, we have guided this galaxy toward transcendence. Through slavery and suffering, Zora countered, her crystalline form blazing with ancestral memory. You corrupted the natural development of countless species. We improved them, the High Lords thundered. As we improved ourselves, look upon us, see what true power means. Your quantum technology, your pitiful attempts at advancement, they are nothing compared to what we have become. The quantum energy in the chamber intensified, reality itself beginning to warp under the High Lord's power. Sarah's armor warning screamed as the local space-time fabric started to tear. Marcus, she called urgently, what are we dealing with? They've quantum-enhanced their own consciousness, he replied, his voice filled with horror and fascination. They've turned themselves into living quantum computers, operating on multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. If they fully exert their power, they'll tear this planet apart. Zora finished. Just as they were willing to do in orbit, they would rather destroy everything than relinquish control. Sarah opened her command channel. Aurora Actual to all forces. Fall back to minimum safe distance. Prepare for emergency evacuation. She turned to Zara. Can your people get clear in time? But Zara was already moving forward, her crystalline form resonating with increasing intensity. No evacuation will be necessary, Admiral. We Visari remember what they forgot. The true purpose of quantum harmony. The High Lord's power pulsed outward, beginning to dismantle the fabric of reality around them. But as it did, something extraordinary happened. The Visari consciousness, linked through their quantum network and amplified by Aurora's technology, began to respond. Not with force, but with harmony. Now, Admiral, Zara called. Complete the resonance. Sarah connected her armor's quantum systems directly to Aurora's main matrix. Throughout the chamber, human Marines did the same, creating a network of quantum resonance points. The High Lord's destructive power met not resistance, but acceptance and integration. What is this? The High Lords demanded as their attempt at dimensional sundering was caught and transformed. What are you doing? Showing you what real evolution looks like, Sarah replied. Not domination, but cooperation. Not force, but harmony. Above, Aurora's crystalline hull pulsed in perfect synchronization with the Visari quantum network. The power of the High Lords, built on millennia of dominated minds and stolen energy, met the freely given strength of dozens of species working in concert. The chamber filled with blinding light as two fundamentally different approaches to quantum manipulation clashed. The High Lords fought with all their dimensional might, trying to assert their corrupted vision of power. But they had forgotten something crucial in their 10,000 years of dominance. True power, like the quantum realm itself, wasn't about control, it was about connection. The combined consciousness of the freed Visari, channeled through Aurora's quantum matrix and supported by humanity's innovative spirit, didn't try to overcome the High Lord's power. Instead, it showed them a different way to exist. One by one, The ancient beings that had ruled the galaxy through fear and domination faced a choice: continue their destructive path alone, or join a new kind of existence. Some raged against the change, their forms collapsing as they refused to adapt. Others, younger or perhaps wiser, allowed themselves to be transformed. When the quantum storm finally settled, the origin chamber had become something new. The surviving High Lords, their consciousness restored to harmony with normal spacetime, looked upon their former realm with new understanding. 10,000 years, one of them said softly. We thought we were advancing, but we were only falling further from true wisdom. Sarah watched as Vizari quantum engineers began the process of safely dismantling the dimensional machinery that had powered the Empire. Throughout the galaxy, freed worlds were already beginning to rebuild, their own unique paths to advancement no longer blocked by Kraxan dominion. Aurora actual to all forces, she broadcast. The war is over. The Kraxan Empire has fallen. As cheers erupted through the quantum network, Sarah turned to Zara. What happens now? The Visari leader's crystalline form shimmered with renewed purpose. Now the real work begins. Dozens of species, thousands of worlds, all free to develop in their own way. They will need guidance, support, but not control. A federation perhaps, Sarah suggested, each species contributing its own strengths, learning from each other rather than dominating. With humanity and Aurora helping to light the way, Zara agreed. Your ship proved that quantum power could be achieved through innovation and cooperation rather than domination. That lesson will reshape the galaxy. As they emerged from the depths of Corax Prime, Sarah looked up at the crystalline form of Aurora shining in orbit. The Supercarrier had been built as humanity's last hope, a desperate gamble against overwhelming odds. Instead, it had become something more. A bridge between species, a symbol of what could be achieved when determination and wisdom worked together. The quantum crystals that powered it pulsed with the combined hopes of dozens of freed races. The Kraxan Empire's rule of fear was over. A new age of exploration, cooperation, and true advancement could begin. And humanity, once nearly extinct, would help lead the way.